Varmt välkomna allihopa till BioStock Live i Stockholm den 20 mars. Idag har vi ett intressant program. Vi har 4 högaktuella life science-bolag som ska presenteras för oss. Vi börjar med Eurocine Vaccines och sen kommer Xbrane Biopharma. Sen kör vi en liten paus på 15 minuter och därefter kommer Bioworks Technologies och Immunicum att presentera. Jag behöver inte säga så mycket mer att jag hälsar dagens första talare välkommen. Och det är då Hans Arvidsson från Eurocine Vaccines. Välkommen Hans.
Tack för det. Tack. Välkomna hit allihop, både ni som sitter här i Stockholm och ni ute i landet. Eurocine Vaccines utvecklar nya vacciner. Och det gör vi baserat på den teknologiplattform som vi har utvecklat under årens lopp. Och det är den jag vill presentera för er här idag. På den här första bilden står vår forskningschef Anna-Karin Malthays med också. Tyvärr har hon på grund av privata åtaganden förhindrat att delta idag. Så att jag drar igenom hela presentationen. I oktober förra året beslutade Eurocine Vaccines om en ny strategi för bolaget. Där injicerade vacciner för humant bruk är det ena benet. Och det andra är både nasala och injicerade vacciner för veterinärt bruk. Båda de här delarna av strategin bygger på Eurocine Vaccines teknologiplattform Endocin, som har en lång utveckling bakom sig som vi kommer tillbaka till. Det här öppnar för vacciner mot både smittsamma sjukdomar som till exempel mot virus och bakterier. Men det öppnar också upp för framtiden att kanske titta på cancervacciner eller till och med allergivacciner. Och det är alltså inte begränsat till sjukdomar som överförs via slemhinnorna, vilket vi fokuserade på tidigare fram till vi fick de kliniska resultat i höstas som gjorde att vi behövde lägga om strategin. De kliniska resultaten då på vår nasala influensaprodukt levde inte upp till förhoppningarna, utan vi behövde rikta om bolaget och det är där vi står idag. Det vi bygger vidare på är den omfattande erfarenhet inom de väsentliga områden för den nya strategin och vaccinutveckling generellt. Vi har en bred erfarenhet kring att samverka med partnerkandidater och leverantörer inom vaccinindustrin. Vaccinutveckling i sig själv är en viktig del av den erfarenhet vi har byggt upp. Och självklart vår egen teknologi, adjuvanset Endocin. Där har vi både adjuvansformulering men också processutveckling och uppskalning där vi har tagit upp vår teknologi upp i pilotskala industriellt. Vilket är unikt för ett bolag i det här skedet skulle jag vilja säga. Visst finns det behov av nya, bättre vacciner, det råder ingen tvekan om. Och jag väljer att citera Pierre Morgan som är vår styrelseledamot med erfarenhet både ifrån Wyeth i USA och Sanofi Pasteur i Frankrike. 2 utav de historiskt mest framgångsrika vaccinbolagen i världen. Jag citerar honom här och där han säger att det finns ett stort behov av bättre vacciner. Även om man bara tittar på smittsamma sjukdomar så finns det behovet där. Och både sjukvården, myndigheterna och industrin söker aktivt efter teknologier och metoder för att förstärka effekten av vacciner som finns eller vacciner som är under utveckling. Det är här jag tror att Eurocine Vaccines kan göra en god insats genom att just möta det här behovet. Innan vi har selekterat de konkreta vaccinkandidaterna som vi kommer att göra vid halvårsskiftet i år, och det återkommer jag till, så beskriver jag här vaccinmarknaden generellt. Den totala globala humanvaccinmarknaden, den omfattar 50 miljarder US-dollar är det prognostiserat till 2023. Och här har vi en årlig tillväxt på ungefär 7% och den förväntas fortsätta. Alltså en enorm marknad. Veterinärvaccinmarknaden, den finns där också och prognostiseras till 2025 till ungefär 13 miljarder US-dollar. Också en ansenlig marknadspotential. Men som ni ser, humanmarknaden är väsentligt större än veterinärmarknaden och humanmarknaden har dessutom en bättre lönsamhet. Även i veterinärmarknaden finns en bra tillväxt. Och det var här Anna-Karin var tänkt att hoppa in, men jag kör vidare och beskriver vad vi har för passform mellan bolagets teknologi och den nya strategin. Teknologiplattformen bygger huvudsakligen på Endocin. Det är ett system som förstärker vaccinets effekt immunologiskt. Fungerar prekliniskt i djurmodeller både som injektion och som nasalt adjuvans, alltså i form av näsdroppar. Vi har i ett antal kliniska studier i människa verifierat att systemet är säkert i människa. Och det är kompatibelt med vaccinantigen från flera olika patogener. Alltså vaccinantigen, den aktiva vaccinkomponenten, som kommer ifrån ett antal olika patogener, alltså sjukdomsalstrare. Det innebär att vi har möjlighet att använda den till ett antal olika typer av sjukdomar. Det har vi redan visat i prekliniska studier. Vi har också visat att den är kompatibel, det vill säga den fungerar tillsammans med vaccinantigen, den aktiva vaccinkomponenten, med olika struktur, storlek eller kemi. Det vill säga allt ifrån de minsta beståndsdelarna av ett vaccin, peptider, alltså delar av proteiner, upp igenom proteiner och ända upp till hela avdödade patogener som hela virus eller hela avdödade bakterier. Hela den skalan går att få förstärkt effekt av med hjälp av Endocin. Och här klipper jag in igen alltså de två huvudbenen i vår nya strategi. Injicerade vacciner för humant bruk och veterinära vacciner där både nasala och injicerade varianter kan bli aktuella. Hur går vi då vidare för att selektera de produktkandidater som vi vill gå vidare med i vår väg framåt? Jo, nu under det första halvåret så kommer vi att identifiera vaccinantigen för utvärdering. Och det har vi i mångt och mycket redan gjort. Baserat på vad det finns för behov, hur marknaden ser ut, det kommersiella landskapet, hur den tekniska genomförbarheten och passformen med vår egen teknologi ser ut. Om det finns befintliga metoder för utvärdering och naturligtvis hur vi bedömer möjligheterna till att patentskydda produkten i fråga. Som sagt, identifieringen den är vi i stort sett färdiga med. Även om det kommer att fortgå under tiden framöver också. Självklart. Vi håller alltid ett öra mot rälsen ut mot vaccinmarknaden. Nästa steg är att etablera ett utvärderingsavtal med respektive samarbetspartner där man beskriver hur man delar kostnaderna, hur man delar nyskapad IP, det vill säga patentmöjligheter, och även kommer överens om hur resultaten får och inte får användas. Och sen genomför vi utvärderingsstudierna. Och de två nedre huvudpunkterna, att etablera utvärderingsavtal och genomföra utvärderingsstudier. Där har vi skrivit det första utvärderingsavtalet och vi är igång med den första utvärderingsstudien. Så under det första halvåret i år är målsättningen att identifiera och utvärdera 3-4 vaccinkandidater och att utifrån dem selektera 1 eller 2 vaccinkandidater för fortsatt produktutveckling. Själva utvärderingen, den räknar vi med, beroende på vilken sjukdom vi pratar om, kommer att ta mellan 2 och 4 månader. Och kostnaden för varje utvärdering, det är inga stora pengar och det är upp till 500 000. Där det är inte ens säkert att vi behöver betala allt, utan i några av diskussionerna så sker det en delning rakt av med partnern. Och planen som vi ser här, där ser ni att identifieringen är färdig. Vi har första avtalet klart. Och vi har startat den första utvärderingsstudien. Och där vi räknar med resultaten vid halvårsskiftet, där vi också kommer att selektera de 1 till 2 kandidater som vi går vidare med. Den fortsatta utvecklingen under andra halvåret i år och även in på 2020, den tar vid efter det och den planen kommer vi att kunna beskriva i större detalj när vi väl har selekterat de kandidater som vi väljer att gå vidare med. Så att hur ser Eurocine Vaccines ut i mars 2009? Jo, vi har lagt en strategi med stora möjligheter för att ta tillvara bolagets tillgångar. Och den strategin, som sagt, ni ser vilka möjligheter det finns i vaccinindustrin. Vacciner är den enskilda hälsorelaterade åtgärd som mänskligheten har skapat som har givit oss mest nytta. Självklart innebär det här risker också. Vi sätter igång nya projekt och resultaten är avgörande för hur vi går vidare. Målet är att selektera 1 eller 2 nya kandidater för fortsatt utveckling vid halvårsskiftet. Och det innebär att vi kommer att ha ett fortsatt nyhetsflöde som till exempel kan inkludera signering av ytterligare utvärderingsavtal nu under våren och inom kort, där det första redan är signerat och flera räknar vi med. Vi har förhandlingar långt gångna. Den första prekliniska studien har startat och flera sådana nyheter kommer vi också att kunna meddela under våren. Och förstås när vi närmar oss halvårsskiftet utfallet av studierna baserat på vilket vi kommer att välja ut de 1 eller 2 kandidaterna. När vi väl har gjort det urvalet, det är då vi kan återkomma i början av andra halvåret med en plan för hur andra halvåret 2019 ser ut, hur 2020 kan se ut. Och där har vi också en väldigt viktig input till hur marknadspotentialen kan se ut för dem vi selekterar. De vaccinkandidater som vi faktiskt selekterar och går vidare med. För det här ändamålet krävs naturligtvis kapital. Vi börjar teckningsperioden för en nyemission på måndag den 25. Och vi stänger den 8 april. Det är en emission som brutto tar in 15,6 miljoner och den är garanterad till 90%. Och vid fullteckning så räknar vi med att den finansierar vår färd till och med december i år. Så där har vi en god marginal för att kunna kommunicera de resultat som vi genererar under första halvåret. För att därefter under hösten finansiera det nya caset för utvecklingen utav kandidaterna efter den första utvärderingen. Välkomna att delta. Tack för det.
Tack så mycket. Hans, det är ju onekligen en spännande utveckling här på gång. Stora förändringar kan man säga, den nya strategin. Om man tittar på det här, man blir nyfiken, det här avtalet som redan har signerat, finns det någonting du kan berätta om det?
Det handlar om en vaccinkandidat som är utvecklad för en sjukdom som ännu inte har vacciner på marknaden. Så att vi är väldigt entusiastiska för potentialen som det kan åstadkomma. Som jag var inne på i min beskrivning här, vi kommer att vara mycket mer öppna med vilka kandidater vi går vidare med när vi har valt ut dem vid halvårsskiftet. Innan dess så kommer vi att tala om dem i inte så klara former, utan att det är vaccinkandidater, lite grann om hur området ser ut som jag just nämnde. Att det är ett område där det idag inte finns vacciner på marknaden. Men inte exakt vilken kandidat det är. Det kommer att bli ett väldigt spännande nyhetsflöde efter halvårsskiftet.
Och att ha ett sånt här avtal på plats som du nu säger att ni har. Och hur viktigt är det för att uppfylla målen med att signa de ytterligare avtal som ni vill?
Jätteviktigt.
Ja.
Jätteviktigt. Och de ytterligare förhandlingar som pågår är långt framskridna och syftar till att nå samma typ av utvärderingsavtal. Vi pratar alltså inte om stora licensavtal eller liknande, utan här är det tidiga utvärderingsavtal som sen behöver föras vidare i nya avtal för ett större utvecklingsåtagande.
Och man säger, ni planerar då att göra de här upp till 4 utvärderingarna och sen selektera ett par kandidater. Vilka resultat krävs för att ni ska välja en kandidat? Så att säga?
Att vi kan förstärka den immunologiska effekten med Endocin, vår teknologiplattform. Tillsammans med att vi efter närmare studier ser att här finns ett behov som vi kan fylla med den här kandidaten och att det finns en marknadspotential som är rimligt stor.
Ska jag även släppa in, är det någon från publiken som har någon fråga att ställa? Så går det bra. Har en fråga? Varsågod. Nej, kör du. Det kan jag återupprepa.
Vad händer om ni vid halvårsskiftet inte har fått några resultat som är värda att gå vidare med? Vad gör ni då i industrin?
Ja, det är ett scenario som jag absolut inte tror på med tanke på den bakgrund som vi har i prekliniska resultat. Skulle det inträffa, ja då får vi starta om och söka flera kandidater.
Hur ser det ut med... Där har vi också en till fråga, varsågod.
Du sa att det kostar inte så mycket, men hur länge ska de här pengarna räcka då? Och hur ser det ut då när det tar slut? Vad har ni räknat med att ha några intäktsströmmar då eller vad?
Som jag nämnde så kommer den här emissionen vid fullteckning att ta oss till slutet av december i år. Så att vi har gott om utrymme för att generera resultaten ifrån den plan vi nu har lagt fast. Och utvärdera dem i lugn och ro under tredje kvartalet. För att baserat på den utvärderingen tillsammans med kompletterande marknadsanalyser selektera kandidaterna, skriva planen för utvecklingen av dem och på det sättet kunna beskriva en plan som sträcker sig fram till en första klinisk studie med den eller de kandidater som vi väljer. Och baserat på den planen räknar jag med att vi ska kunna finansiera även fortsättningen i utvecklingen.
Du sa att det kostade mer än 500 000 per kandidat och det är 4 stycken max då. Det betyder att det är under 2 miljoner. Vad kommer du att använda resten av pengarna, majoriteten av pengarna?
De utvärderingskostnaderna, det är marginalkostnaden för själva arbetet. Här finns en stor del fasta kostnader förstås. Och vi har faktiskt viss kostnad kvar att rensa undan för den kliniska studien som vi genomförde förra året.
Jag har en annan fråga som jag avslutar med. Hur ser det ut med, alltså på IP-sidan, patent?
Ja.
Vad händer om ni hittar en kandidat som ni så att säga, kan utveckla vidare med en partner? Hur ser det ut på patentsidan då?
Då går vi tillsammans med den här parten och utvärderar och skriver patentskydd tillsammans med den parten. För här är det viktigt att den gemensamma produkten skyddas. Så vid gynnsamma resultat, då går vi vidare med den partnern och skyddar den produkten. Ett vaccin som inte kan ha tillräcklig effekt utan endosin, det är ingen bra produkt. Endosin i sig är ingen produkt, utan det är kombinationen som behöver skyddas. Och det är det vi avtalar om också i utvärderingsavtalen, hur ägandet av IP, patenträttigheterna, ser ut.
Jättebra. Det finns säkert fler frågor. De får man gärna passa på att ställa sen i pausen. Du hänger kvar ett tag.
Ja, absolut.
Okej, då tackar vi för det.
Tack för det.
Tack så mycket.
Tack så mycket.
Härnäst på tur. Okay, now I have to switch to English. Thank you. Next to present is Xbrane Biopharma, CEO Martin Åmark. So, welcome, Martin.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. My name is Martin, and I'm the CEO of Xbrane. First of all, I want to introduce with some concepts that I'm going to talk more about that we need to be clear about. Pharmaceutical industry is typically divided into two segments. First, traditional small molecule pharmaceuticals, which are produced chemically, and then biological drugs. And these are much larger molecules, and they are produced in a biological system. That is to say, we have to introduce a DNA string into a living cell that instructs it to produce the protein that we're interested in. So, traditional pharmaceutical industry, small molecules and biologics. Now, as you probably know, these products are typically protected by patents. And when the patent expires of a small molecule pharmaceutical, generics can come to market, okay? And since they are rather simple in their structure, you can prove that you have a complete identical product. And it's rather easy these days to produce a generic, and therefore quite a few generic products come to market typically as the patent expires. 10 or so is quite common, and the prices drop typically 90% from the price the day before patent expiration. Now, of course, there needs to be a similar thing when it comes to biological drugs, because they're also patent protected. Now, that is called biosimilars. Because since these biological drugs are so complex in their structure, you cannot prove that you have a completely identical product. All you can do is to prove that you have a very similar product, and therefore we call it a biosimilar. Now, there are much larger entry barriers technologically, scientifically, and financially to develop a biosimilar compared to generics. And therefore, fewer biosimilars come to market on each molecule that loses patent protection. Typically, what we've seen is up to 5 biosimilars in the most extreme case of filgrastim coming to market after patent expiration of the originator. And prices typically go down with 30 to 40% compared to the price of the originator day before patent expiration. The biosimilar market is a very interesting field. It's the fastest growing segment in the pharmaceutical industry today, growing with 30% per year, and it is profitable. It's due to the high barriers of entry. And we believe this is a very exciting segment to be in, and exactly what we do. We are developing biosimilars. Our leading product we call Xlucane, and it's a biosimilar to the eye drug Lucentis, which sells for 30 billion Swedish crowns globally. And there are three things which I want you to remember from this presentation with regards to Xlucane. First thing, we are in a late stage. We're going into a pivotal phase 3 trial as we speak, and we're going to launch the product beginning of 2022. Second, the development risk is low. From where we are now up until market authorization, historically 95% of development programs had made it all the way. And number three, we have a strong commercialization partner in the German generics and biosimilar company STADA. They're going to sell the product throughout the world, and we have a sales potential estimated for this product of 300 to 350 million euro when we reach the peak, out of which roughly a third would end up as revenues for Xbrane, so roughly 100 million euro. So it's a good commercial potential in this product for us. So my name is Dan Martin. I'm the CEO since 2015, and prior to Xbrane, I advised pharmaceutical industry at Bain & Company. Anders Tullgren is the chairman of the board, coming from Bristol Myers Squibb. Then our strategy is pretty simple. We're going to do exactly what we did with Xlucane with our further preclinical portfolio of biosimilars. So we're going to leverage our patented high yield and low cost production technology, and then bring these products via strong commercialization partners like STADA to the market. And beyond Xlucane, we're working on biosimilars on the biological drugs Cimzia and Oncaspar, and also on the prostate cancer drug Decapeptyl. But as I said in the beginning, absolutely most important product for us now, the leading product, is Xlucane, and that constitutes the majority of the value in the company now and the value generation going forward. So I want to spend more time on this product. So this is a product used in treatment of several severe eye diseases, amongst them age-related macular degeneration. And essentially what it does is to help the patients who, when they are affected, have a vision like this. The central field is diminishing, and these products can significantly improve the vision for these patients. This is a segment in the pharmaceutical industry with total revenue of roughly 9 billion euro. So it's a big pharmaceutical segment. Lucentis is one of the drugs with sales of roughly 3 billion euro. We estimate that there are approximately 18 million individuals around the world affected by these severe eye diseases, roughly 5 million in Europe and the US. And the fact is that only 1 million is getting treatment with approved biologics, Lucentis and Eylea. A fair share is then getting treatment with the off-label drug Avastin, which is attached with several risks with regards to safety, but still it is used because it's cheaper. This is the main problem with the biological drugs. They are too expensive. Lucentis and Eylea typically cost between 5,000 to 10,000 euro per patient per year, and this is too much for many patients, and also there are restrictions with regards to reimbursements, which causes this picture. And as you can see, there are a lot of individuals out there which do not even get treatment for these diseases. And this is obviously more accentuated even in the rest of the world, where we have huge populations which do not have the financial means to get adequate treatment. Now, if we only look at Europe and the US, and we look at the originator product Lucentis, we estimate that Xlucane as a biosimilar has a sales potential when we reach the peak of 300 to 350 million euro. And we base that on us, together with STADA, taking 25% market share of the biosimilar market to be created at a price reduction of 30 to 40%. And as I said in the beginning, we will have a high gross margin due to our cost-efficient production technology, and STADA will be efficient when it comes to cost in terms of sales and marketing. So we estimate margins at 60 to 70%, which we then share 50-50 with STADA. So 100 million euro of that we estimate would end up as revenues for Xbrane. Now from that, there's also a further potential upside in terms of an expanded market as more cost-efficient biosimilars come to market, something we've seen for almost all biological drugs which have lost their patent protection and faced competition from biosimilars. Taking market share from Avastin, which now is attached to these severe safety risks, this is a big opportunity for Lucentis biosimilars such as Xlucane. And then also the rest of the world, although harder to estimate how big this can be. And here I think this is about coming to the market with a product priced significantly lower. I think we're talking about 100 to 200 euro per dose, but then there are huge populations to be reached where we can really do a difference in terms of providing an affordable treatment for these individuals. So there's a good commercial upside in this product. And I think we have a great partner in STADA, and I think we have a very good deal with them, a deal which we entered last year, and STADA paid us an upfront payment of 7.5 million euro as we enter the deal, and then it's pretty simple. We share the development investments 50-50, and we share the profits 50-50. So the phase 3 trial we currently go into is to 50% financed by STADA. And STADA is a German company with over 100 years of history, sales of slightly above 2 billion euro, slightly over 10,000 employees, and really strongholds in the different European markets with market positions from 1 to 5 dependent from country to country. So they're a really strong company, and they know how to sell this kind of products. They have 2 biosimilars on the market already, and they're really building up a biosimilar portfolio. So we're now going into the phase 3 trial, the pivotal phase 3 trial. So this is very exciting, and any day now we will have the first patient in the US in this trial. And it's rather simple, the design of the trial. We're going to recruit 580 patients with age-related macular degeneration. We split them in 2 groups. One get treatment with our biosimilar, Xlucane, and one get treatment with the originator product, Lucentis. And 8 weeks into the treatment, we read out the primary endpoint, which is really improvement in visual acuity. So rather simple, the number of letters that the patient is able to read on the screens that you probably have seen when you go to the ophthalmology. That's the primary endpoint, really. We measure and compare the improvement in visual acuity compared to originator. Then we follow the patients during 12 months, and we follow certain secondary endpoints and also certain safety endpoints. We have 150 clinics signed up globally, based in Europe, US, and India, a few more countries. And it's really to enable marketing authorization across the globe with this trial. And we're working together with one of the largest global CROs, Syneos Health, which have a very large recent experience in this indication area. Okay, so looking at our peers, if you will, when it comes to companies having a biosimilar of Lucentis under development. We have, of course, done ourselves with the partner STADA. We're listed at Nasdaq First North with the market cap fluctuating between 250 to 300 million Swedish crowns. We have the German company Formycon listed in Frankfurt with a market cap of 2.5 billion Swedish crowns. And then we have Samsung Bioepis, and they're not listed, it's a private company, but they also have Lucentis biosimilar in the phase 3. So what we expect here really when it comes to Europe, when the patent expires beginning of 2022, to come to market with 2 more competitors in a biosimilar context. And that is why we assume that we will capture 25% of this market. And I think this is still a very good position considering that the originator product sells for 3 billion euros. It's a big originator product. And really, apart from having the competence of developing a high-quality biosimilar, our edge into this is our patented production technology, where it has been demonstrated in several academic studies that we can get up to 12-fold the yield or the productivity in production of proteins. And this will leverage for Xlucane, of course. And this gets a direct impact on the production cost of the product, because you can consider that the cost of doing a production batch is fixed at a certain scale, and of course, the more protein we get in a certain run gets a complete impact into the cost per unit of the product. So this is really an edge which I think really will be crucial for us, particularly when we come to emerging markets where, as I said before, we need to be thinking about the biosimilar priced at a lower level. Okay, so during 2018, I think we did what we said we should do. We signed a deal with the Chinese pharmaceutical distributor regarding another product in our portfolio, Spherotide. Anders Tullgren came in as chairman of the board. We signed the important deal with STADA. We got the upfront payment. In fact, we generated during last year 12 million euro in income from different license arrangements and also limited product sales. And then we made a strategic decision to focus more strongly on the biosimilars preclinically. And then the development of Xlucane went according to plan, which led to that we are now able to go into this pivotal phase 3 trial. Looking ahead here, 2019, with regards to Xlucane, will of course be a lot about recruitment, and we will report to the market as we reach the important milestones of recruitment of this patient. We're going to report the data from this trial second quarter next year, apply for marketing authorization in Europe and the US. If everything goes according to plan, get the approval Q3 2021, and be able to launch the product together with STADA beginning of 2022. And during that time period, we will also generate value from our preclinical portfolio, take Spherotide into a phase 3 trial, tie up a European partner, and push forward our preclinical biosimilar portfolio. So to summarize, Xlucane is the key product. We are in a late stage with the product going into the phase 3 trial. There's a low risk from where we stand now up until marketing authorization. And we have a strong commercialization partner in STADA and a strong and good sales potential of 300 to 350 million euro for the product, out of which a third would end up as revenue for Xbrane. And we will, during this time period, also generate value from our preclinical portfolio and a news flow from the portfolio. And I shall mention as a final remark, we're going through preferential share issue as we speak, and the details are present on our webpage. So if you're interested in the company and want to invest in the company, now's a good moment.
Thank you very much, Martin. So, yeah, exciting times for Xbrane. It's interesting in the prognosis for peak sales and so on. You have a fairly clear plan there. What are the sources for your calculations regarding the market uptake? How do you calculate this?
It's pretty simple. We look at the history, particularly in Europe. How has it looked like in terms of uptake of biosimilars coming in, competing with different originator products? Then we calculate with a similar uptake as we've seen, and a similar price reduction versus the originator as we've seen historically. And then also we know now pretty well the competition we will face, and we assume a reasonable market share in comparison to those.
And is the pivotal phase 3 study that you're entering now, recruitment of 580 patients, you said. Is patient recruitment a challenge in this area, would you say?
Timely recruitment of patients is always a challenge in clinical trials, but this is exactly why we have decided such an aggressive strategy here of tying up 150 sites into this trial. That's quite a lot, and it's just because we want to recruit all these patients during this year. And it's also why we're working with a very experienced CRO who knows these clinics and has experience from them and know that they do what they say they shall do in terms of recruitment.
I should also open up. Anyone in the audience have a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Biosimilars haven't been around for such a long time. My question is, this price reduction, can we expect that to stay the same over a longer period, say not only 5, but possibly 10, 15, 20 years, given that no new drug comes along that alters the treatment, so to speak?
Yep. I believe we will see a span of 30 to 50% reduction in general for the different products. Even what we see now in Humira, that is where it has settled, which I think is the most intense competitive field in the biosimilar space. It has settled around 50% reduction. I think in order for that to go downwards, I think we need to see a change in the regulatory requirements with kind of taking out the requirement of such a large phase 3 trial. That could potentially alter that picture because it would increase competition in a way. I think it's always tied to the number of biosimilars coming to market. But with the current structure and the current entry barriers, I think we will see these numbers of competitors coming to market and that price reduction. So something would have to change, regulatory speaking, I believe, for that picture to change.
I had a question regarding when you do the readout, you see the results and presuming they're as you want, as you wish. Is there a correlation there between the price and the efficacy of the new product, so to speak, that can actually affect the sales, so to speak?
No. This trial is designed to prove equivalence.
Yeah.
We cannot prove superiority. We shall not be better.
Okay.
We shall be equivalent. That's the whole point in order to be able to follow, from a regulatory perspective, the biosimilar pathway.
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Anyone else have a question from the audience? Yeah.
You have 150 sites for this clinical trial. Are any of those in Sweden?
No.
Why?
Sweden is not a good country for recruitment purposes. We need to focus primarily on regions where there is more limited reimbursement of the originator product, which then helps from a recruitment perspective. So in Europe, we focus a lot on Eastern Europe.
What about the long-term strategy? Presuming everything goes fine and sales start and so on, what are the long-term strategy as far as Xbrane goes? Where are you in 10 years?
We're now building a very exciting portfolio of currently preclinical biosimilars. We want to advance those, and in 10 years' time, we shall obviously have a significant income generated from Xlucane, but also we shall have few of those products on the market and few years after launch, also generating income to the company. At the end of the day, what we want to build here in Sweden is a real competence hub with regards to development of biosimilars and cost-efficient biosimilars, and really having, over time, a broad portfolio to be one of the leading global biosimilar players out there. We really see that we've been lagging behind the developers in South Korea and in the US, and we really believe we can build something strong here in Sweden with the spaces.
So being snatched up by some pharma giant from the US, that's not part of the plan?
It can never be the strategy. Now, if that happens and the price is good, we will not say no, but that can never be the strategy. We want to build a successful company on its own, and we really believe that we have the position that we can do that.
And your technology platform, how important part is that of this long-term strategy?
I think it is very important, because even if we speak about Xlucane, there will be markets where it will matter, where production cost will matter, because we believe we have to come at a significantly lower price point. Then we don't know how this will develop over decades, but we believe that we have a certain protection in a technology platform over a long-term perspective and over different scenarios, which could involve more price pressure. There we believe that we have a strong hedge or security with regards to our platform.
It's going to be very exciting to see how it all goes, and we have to stop here, but you are welcome to talk to everyone in the break. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we take a short break, 15 minutes, some stretches and coffee, and we'll be right back after that. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody, from the short break. I hope the coffee was good. We're going to jump straight back into the program, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce the next speaker. It's Mats Jonsson from BioWorks. Welcome, Mats.
Thank you. BioWorks, we do high-performing products that make purification simple. What does that mean? We work with a technology base that's called chromatography. That is based on small beads that are put in a column. And these beads are, in our version, 40 micron, 100 micron, 200 micron. They're very porous, so a lot of surface in a little volume. And that is key to be able to collect as many molecules of interest as possible. And the molecules that can be collected are usually are always high-value biomolecules, and are usually molecules that will become biological drugs. And our product base, the beads, we call work beads, but they are always packed in a column, and we have some for lab scale, smaller columns called Baby Bio and OptiBio. So that is the product base. Our beads, our chromatography beads, are based on a molecule called agarose. That has been found to be very efficient in purification of biomolecules. And the molecules then are kept in a good shape to be high performing in the medical application or the diagnostic application. So this is what we do. The process is patented. We make a unique bead with some unique properties that is better than competition in many aspects. We are a company that was put on the stock exchange at the end of 2017, a heavily oversubscribed IPO. At that time, we also got a strategic investment from a strategic partner in Korea, Immunicum. Immunicum is a partner to us when it comes to development of certain new products, and I will come back to that. But also they are a partner as a distributor, an exclusive distributor in Korea. We are today a company with 29 employees. We have 236 active customers. And that customer base we are increasing in a quick matter. It's very important for us, and I'll come back to that. It's very important in a model to fill the funnel with as many active customers as possible, because we are in many aspects part of the development process of new drugs, but we are that as a supplier then of purification media for these pharmaceutical companies. We get more and more recurring orders, and we get recurring orders from all over the world. 1 year ago, we was a company with almost all of our sales in Northern Europe. Today, we're a company getting more and more orders from the US and from different parts of Asia. We are sitting in a facility in Uppsala. It's a good place for us. We're renting a space with, of course, offices and labs, but also production facility. We have the capacity in that production facility to produce up to 150 million worth of products at the moment. And with reasonably small investments, we can also double that total. You can see some of our customer base here, so quite well-known companies in many parts of the world. And this is expanding then quite rapidly at the moment. A little bit of a summary of last year. We had 125% customer growth over 12 months. We exceeded the initial target already after 7 months. So we were very happy with our sales results last year. One of our customers has now an FDA-approved drug. So we are in production. We have 6 customers in full production by the end of last year, and by the end of 2017 we had 0. We have today 49 customers in scale-up phase, of which 4 are in late scale-up, and we had 30 of those by the end then of 2017. We increased our sales with 33% full year. We opened a sales office in the US, so we have a solid place to be, and also then can support our sales effort in the US, which is very important for us. That is the single biggest region market-wise, with a reasonable growth as well. During the year, we also launched the work with Affimab, which is made to purify monoclonal antibodies, which is a very important segment of the total chromatography market. We also have some first orders from that, and I will also come back to that point. Our target for customers next year, or this year then, is 400 customers. But we will also spend a lot of time to take the customers now in scale-up, but also in production, and develop them so we get more and more volume in sales out of these customers, because that is the key to the growth of our sales line. We will continue the rollout of the Protein A product, the work with Affimab, and we will come into, as we see, for the first scale-up customers for that product as well during the year. Actually, we already have one customer we are in discussion with regarding that. And we will secure, actually we have secured the ISO 9000 certifications. That is the first milestone we have reached this year. This is key for us to be able to get into the production in the big pharma companies when it comes to their drugs. They have a hard requirement on that, and many of the other companies, the smaller companies, also think that's very important. So this is a key step for us to have full access to the whole market. Key for our sales process is this scheme, to get into the lab phase, somewhere at least towards the end, or possibly in the early scale-up phase, and then develop, be part of their development in the scale-up phase, getting into production. When we get into production of the biological drugs, we are, it's a quite high level, it's a very high level of stickiness, because basically it's impossible for them to change tools in their production. And that depends on the regulatory process and that they have described for FDA or the like, how they produce their products. By the end of 2017, we had 5% of revenue in the lab phase, 95% in scale-up. We had almost 30% of our customers in scale-up. This changed quite a lot to the end of last year. Still, when it comes to the lab phase, most of our customers are there. You can also see that has increased in percentage, and also the total revenue due to our effort to get in more and more customers in the funnel. But you can also see that we have then 3%, 6 customers then of our customers in production phase, and that is still 73% of the revenue. So here we have the number of customers, and here we have the majority of our revenue. And this is the way it is. And when we are here, then we get high stickiness to our that revenue. So that's a very important part of our model. And then, as I mentioned, we have one FDA-approved drug with one of our production customers. A very important step during last year, because it gives a higher level of comfort to all our customers that this is possible to do with our products. So the rollout. 1 year ago, we had almost all our sales in Northern Europe. We had rather little in the Southern Europe, and we had almost nothing in the US and Asia. We have spent a lot of effort last year to move down in Europe, to get into the US, and also get into certain countries in Asia. In the US, we now have a good platform on the East Coast. We have started to build the platform and the customer base on the West Coast, and we will, during this year, get a good platform also on the West Coast of the US. I'm quite hopeful that we will see. We have several scale-up customers in the US, and hopefully we get in some customers also in production in the US during the year. In Asia, we focus on China, Korea, and Taiwan. We have built up a good customer base than last year, and again there we see also the development towards production customers. In Korea, we today have one production customer, so one of the 6 is then an Asian company. We use a direct sales strategy in Europe, now in the northern part of Europe, but that will grow downwards in Europe. Southern Europe we cover at the moment with distributors, but that will change over time. In North America we do direct sales. We opened an office there, a virtual office, last year as a platform. We have started then to contract agents and sales rep. We have not done an employment there yet, but that is, I think, a good platform to build towards a company and employed people within approximately a year. In Asia, we use a distribution strategy, and that is basically a cultural reason for that. It's almost impossible to do direct sales from a Western company. I think we have good distributors in China and Korea, and we have also a very good agent in Taiwan. We have just started with an agent in Japan as well. But the most dynamic countries in Asia is China, Korea, and Taiwan. I could maybe mention as well that we support these distributors very well from Sweden. We have one key technical person sitting about 50% of his time in Korea in the Immunicum office. These are then the production customers that we have. As I mentioned, we have one customer that has an FDA-approved drug being produced with our tools, and that will mean recurring sales in reasonably large scale every year or every other year. But we are also with this company in several other projects, so we have a good flow of orders coming from this company every year, even though they are scattered at different times of the year. We also have one vaccine producer in a European country. We have had recurring orders there for more than a year, and they are also a good intro to getting into other vaccine companies in the same country. So that is on its way, you could say. We also have a couple of customers that are producing functional proteins for non-medical markets. And here we also have had recurring orders over now several years. And the new ones then here, the last quarter, is one diagnostic company that has integrated us in their diagnostic tests. We have other opportunities like that as well. And then we have a producer of special high-value molecules for a separate market or a specific market. And then we have the 49 scale-up customers that we work with to help them to get into production as well. So the process continues. The type of customers we have is not strange. I mean, of course, the big pharma is very interesting because if you get in there, it's a lot of volume. However, they are more conservative. It takes more time, while the main customer groups are in the smaller and mid-sized biotech and small pharmas and CMOs, CDMOs, and to some extent, diagnostic companies. Our protein A then, the mAb market, that is a specific segment. Almost half of the biological drugs are monoclonal antibodies, and they are almost always purified with a bead with the protein A molecule on. that is very good to fish out the monoclonal. And almost all then producers of monoclonal antibodies use protein A product. We launched ours this last fall. We're then rolling it out in the market. The market works in a similar way as I've described before. There is this lock-in effect, this scale-up. And this product is one example of our collaboration with Immunicum. They produce the protein A. We hook it on in a special way to our beads, and we have also optimized our beads to some extent. And it works extremely well, and I will come back to some data there. This is 25% of the agarose-based chromatography market, and it has a healthy growth of 8% per year. And this type of product has a different price level. So if our standard products has a price of 10,000 to 25,000 crowns per liter, this has typically a price of 100,000 crowns per liter and above, actually. So the road to our market is not strange either. It's awareness building, it's competitive argumentation, sampling and testing, and that's where we are today. So we have done a lot of sampling, and many customers are testing. We're waiting for their feedback on their tests and getting some customer testimonials. And of course, at the end, it comes down to the cost efficiency with our product compared to other products. Some basic data compared to the main competitor in the market, you can see here below. Here, the blue curve is how quickly we pick up the monoclonal, and it gets stuck then on our product, and then how that develops depending on the flow rate. And it's higher flow rate going this way. And the ideal situation is that the residence time on the column is about 2.5 minutes, and here you can see a distinct difference to the main competitor. We can collect more monoclonals in the same time, and it's about 30% more compared to the main competitor. So that is a key data point for attracting the customer. Another one is how long will our work with Affimed then hold? How many cycles, how many samples can be put on the column? And then it's so that a column such as this needs to be cleaned every time it has been used. And with every cleaning, it loses some of its effect. And here you again can see our curve compared to the main competitor. And we start at the higher level of collecting the monoclonal, and after 120 cleaning cycles, 120 samples, we are still above the starting point of our main competitors. This is an extremely good argumentation for making the customer interested in our product and get them to test the product. So this is a bit summary of what we are doing. We have sent out more than 60 samples to customers. It has so far resulted in 8 orders after 3 months. And we are already, as I mentioned before, in our first scale-up discussion. And we estimate that about 25% of the recipients of samples have had time to test the product. And the scale-up model is the same as with our regular work beads. The volumes are in general smaller, but the price higher. So the value is at least as high as for our other products. And the potential is at the end much higher. And the technical performance we have has created a natural demand among customers. And that's also why we so quickly have come into our first scale-up discussion. And these are some, below here you see some other key data. When you produce these monoclonals, they are produced in different cells, and there's a lot of DNA and proteins in these mass. And then we use the protein A column to fish out the monoclonal of interest. But how to get rid of this enormous amount of DNA and proteins is very important. And this we can do extremely well with our product. And so 95% reduction of the host cell DNA, HCD it's called, 95% reduction of host cell proteins, and not the least 93% removal of endotoxins, which is quite often a problem for these pharmaceutical companies. And then we have are proposing 2 different ways. You can use the work beads alone, or you could add another BioWorks product, a product that is unique for us, and then you get a higher, even higher cleaning level. So again, if you compare with the main competitor, we are 5 times better when it comes to the HCP, and we are 5 times better compared to on the 7 times better on HCD, so taking away DNA. Okay. So that is a very important step to get into the customer. This is actually the same milestone table we showed at the IPO. We are taking them off roughly as planned. We are maybe adjusting the plans a little bit sometimes, but in principle, we are taking these off. For example, we have changed our mind of when we want to start a US entity. That will probably happen towards the end of the year, but we try to be as efficient as possible and use the money as efficiently as possible for ourselves, of course, and for the investors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mats. See that you have a lot to tell, and you actually ran quite long, so I'm going to have time for one question only. And that will be then, since you showed you're ticking off the milestones as you go. In your opinion, for the upcoming year, what's the milestone that's coming that you're the most excited for yourself?
We need to still continue to fill the funnel. However, now when we have more scale-up customers already in our stock, you could say, we need to work hard to develop them, because that's where we, in a little bit shorter term, can affect the top line the most, because that's where you have most of the value. And of course, the holy grail for us is to get into the different production processes where the volumes can be really big and the values are really big.
Yeah.
Then is the rollout of the work beads Affimab, and continue that. And okay, we have already ticked off the ISO certification, so that's already in the story, you could say.
Yeah. And looking at there's one product that's FDA approved.
Yeah.
And how much does that affect your sales volume, your order volume, so to speak, when you get to that point?
Well, I mean, the customer that produced the FDA-approved drug, I mean, it can be quite easily deducted that they bought product values from us for about half of our turnover last year.
So what you will be hoping for is more drugs to get approved, of course.
More of those.
Yeah, more of those.
Yeah.
We hope for that. No questions. Time for questions for the audience, but they can grab you in after the fact.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will be available out there later on as well.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we'll be preparing the slideshow from our final speaker today is Carlos de Souza from Immunicum. Welcome, Carlos.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonas. Good morning. God morgon. So I'm here to talk to you about Immunicum. Immunicum is a company that operates in the field of oncology, cancer, but a very particularly innovative area that is the immuno-oncology. And immuno-oncology is the area where a lot of the developments in the last 4 or 5 years have happened. And basically is the sector that wants to use the patient's own immune system to attack and kill the tumor cells. And that where most of the big developments and impact on survival of patients have been happening. So let me tell you about Immunicum. So we are a listed company. We are in the NASDAQ main market since now a little bit over 1 year. And we have a product that is a cell-based product, and I will explain you how that works. But this is a very particular product because it's what we call off the shelf, so ready to be administered whenever needed. and we treat patients injecting these cells from healthy donors into the tumor and initiate this reaction of activating the patient immune system. We're already quite advanced in terms of clinical trials. If you are more or less familiar with the development phase 2, so we are going to have phase 2 data from a study in kidney cancer now the third quarter this year, so very exciting for us. But we have a very extensive safety data from more than 90 patients in several indications. And one of the things that is beneficial and the key differentiation for our product ilixadencel is the excellent safety. The side effect profile that we see in patients is fever, because we are inducing inflammatory response. So very well tolerated and very important when we are going to combine our product with other classes because now today is accepted that the future of treating patients with cancer has to be combinations of classes of drugs with different mechanisms of action. We also have quite a robust production process. We currently produce in Germany and transferring now to a bigger producer that will be possible to produce for us or a partner in commercial scale. We have been in touch with both the European regulatory authorities, the FDA, that is the US European authorities, several times. We have quite differentiated too. We already have, again, the agreement from the FDA, the US regulatory approvals for running studies in the US, what we already did with our most advanced study, the phase 2, and the new study that we have initiated. And also in November, we announced a collaboration with two big pharmas, Pfizer and Merck Germany, Merck KGaA, where they will supply us their product that is one of these products in the immuno-oncology space, it's called the checkpoint inhibitor, to combine with our product ilixadencel in the new study that we have just initiated in the US. We also very successful raised 350 million krona now in December. A little bit more than that was through directed issue with big and strong institutional investors with a very long-term perspective. And I will tell you about that. And that money, together with the cash that we have, funds the company towards the end of 2021, so quite an extended runway. And this carries the company through the different value inflection points that are excellent points for our shareholders to get potential return on their investment based on this data. We have quite an extensive experienced team that we have basically been assembling in the company in the last couple of years. And in terms of what you look at the profile, the projects in the company, you have of course the lead compound is ilixadencel. So the kidney cancer is the study that we are going to have data third quarter. We have published the data in liver cancer. We have another small study. There's an orphan disease, so very rare, in collaboration with Karolinska that we are going to publish the results mid this year. And the new study that we have initiated with the checkpoint inhibitors that are the leading class now in treating cancers in head and neck cancer, lung cancer, and stomach cancer. And then we have a couple of other projects in preclinical. But this, of course, this is our focus. So, this is a complex graph, but think about it as, what we call the cancer immunity cycle. This is how the cancer develops and how the body reacts against the cancer cells and how the different treatments fall in place. So I normally use the example of the cancer is like a castle. So the cancer creates a fortress and has the defenses against the patient immune system. So you have a class of drugs on this side called the anti-immunosuppressants, means that they block the defenses of the tumor cells against the immune system. So think about that you have this castle and the checkpoint inhibitors are the ones that are going to destroy the gate to the castle. So that's their job. Of course, then you need an army to go through these gates and destroy the castle. And that's the big problem. In most of the cases, the patient immune system is not activated, so you don't have this army in strength and in numbers. So we provide that other side of the equation. Basically, we activate the patient system so you have all these cells, strength and in numbers that go through the gate and destroy the castle. And the most important for our product is you not only destroy the main castle, but you also destroy the metastases or small fortresses, spread through the body. So we complement the activity. They destroy the defenses. We activate in combinations. You have a better effect than the two drugs alone. So how do we do that? As I mentioned to you, use cells that are taken from donors. These are like blood donors, so nothing too special. It's just we activate these cells with a cocktail to make them extremely pro-inflammatory. So think about that, although it's not a vaccine, they are going to induce a reaction inside the tumor, like when you have a vaccine. You have it's swollen, it's red, so you create an inflammatory response. And the big differentiation is that the product, these cells are frozen. So basically you can keep them in the hospital pharmacy. We already passed 3 years shelf life, so after 3 years the cells are still, when brought back to life, they are still active, so ready to be administered. And this is a key differentiation when you want to treat these patients. One donor gives us about 100 of these vials, so we treat up to 50 patients from one donor. So this is another big differentiation. It's a relatively simple manufacturing process, so in terms of cost of producing, has no impact on margins. So very well established manufacturing process, but that now we started making investments to develop what we call a commercial process, so that then we can, or a partner can proceed with the regulatory studies and coming later on to the market. So again, complex graph, but basically think about it. When the patient needs, and we treat most of the times with 2 doses, 2 injections into the tumor. These cells that were frozen and we put them back to life and then we inject them, they are going to induce this inflammatory response. Recruit the patient's own immune cells to the site of the injection. They kill some of the tumor cells and release what we call like a barcode. It's the neoantigens. It's a barcode that is specific for that patient, for that tumor. The product, you can use it regardless of the type of tumor. If the patient is always the same. But when you inject it, then becomes personalized for that patient, for that tumor. Then the cells take this barcode to the lymph nodes, to the ganglia, and then educate what we call the T cells, killer T cells, that are the ones that then spread through the whole body, take this barcode and say, okay, this is a cancer cell, let's destroy it. So you have not only the effect at the place, the tumor where you inject, but also through the whole body. And this is, again, very important. So we have this first study, we already concluded this in 2012. This is what you see. This was in patients that had, in addition to the kidney cancer, they also had metastasis and was newly diagnosed. So we inject, it's like doing a biopsy, so nothing too complicated. This is here, what you see, the normal, the dark spots are these killer T cells. As you see, not a lot. This is one of the big challenges. So these are images from all the same patient. You see the massive infiltration of these killer T cells that were trained in the lymph nodes, then come to the primary tumor. You see the healthy tissue just outside is the normal reaction, but also very important in this case, we also saw that this also was in the metastasis. This was, as a matter of fact, a lung metastasis. So it's a distance metastasis. These cells spread through the whole body. But importantly, again, this was a small number of patients, 11 patients. What you can see is that this blue line is what you expect will be the survival of these patients treated with the standard of care, 14 to 16 months. So just a little bit over 1 year. In our study, we reached 4-year survival, so that is triple, and we still had patients passing the 5-year, and in January last year, where we could collect the data, we still had 3 patients alive passing the 5-year mark. So not a lot of patients, but quite an extended survival, and again, excellent safety. One of those patients is this one. he had, of course, the kidney tumor. He had the lung metastasis, liver metastasis, and forebrain metastasis. Normally, with the standard of care, there's nothing to the brain metastasis. Very short. This patient was expected to survive 6 months. In a presentation that we're giving to shareholders last October, this gentleman stand up and say, "I'm this patient." So we know that he is still alive after 66 months and having a normal life. And this is showing the benefit of the combinations. Based on this data, we initiated a bigger study, the one that I mentioned to you. We are going to communicate the top-line results in the third quarter. 88 patients, 58 of them combining the standard of care with our cells, the other one with the standard of care alone, that is Sutent. So we can compare the effects and the safety between the groups. 8 European countries and the US, very important data for us. Basically, this is going to prove that we bring in a combined study an improvement over the standard of care alone. And this is the type of data that a lot of the potential partners, companies that we are discussing are waiting. We also had very good results in the liver cancer study that we would want to move forward. But the big study that, as I mentioned, we just initiated, the FDA cleared the protocol last year. The phase 1B is in combination with Keytruda. Keytruda is the biggest seller, sells $12 billion a year. So it's a lot of usage. So 21 patients, so we can see the safety of the combination, but also some initial indications of efficacy. And when we move to the phase 2, then these 3 indications will run in parallel. So we will have 3 studies. So already during 2019, we are going to have some of the initial data from the study. And also very exciting data in preclinical studies in mice, but showing that really we have potential to combine with other classes of drugs. You can see here, basically we got the 4 EP fund, the second EP fund, Gladiator, Adrigo, Nordic Cross, joining some of, a couple of our existing shareholders. So now, about 40% of the company is in the hands of, institutions, or of course the usual Avance and Nordnet. So as I mentioned, this cash, will fund the company. So at the end of in December, we have a total of 444 million SEK in terms of cash that will fund the company towards the end of 2021. And this is very important, and was also very important also for the AP funds, that basically we have the cash to cross several value inflection points. The big one, of course, is the results of the phase 2. This can be transformational for the company. But of course, we also have the initial data from the new big study, very important study. So it's going to be a very, very crucial year for us, 2019. And now you see that the reason why this is important is because there's been a lot of activity of big pharmas acquiring companies operating in our part of the sector there, in biotechs as primers, with very big acquisitions done in 2018. So, in summary, I think as an investment case, we are very well positioned now as a company. We have a very clear strategy. We have all the studies are running. We are going to have very, very soon very important results on the data that can, again, as I mentioned, be transformational for the company. We have the new study, very important, running, and we are going to get the data. We have a long-term funding and very strong investors behind the company. And a very clear strategy. We are presenting the company now, not only in Scandinavia and Sweden, but also in the US, in Asia, and in Europe. Our majority of our shareholders are still in Sweden, but we want to diversify that because I think the company is now becoming more and more well known outside of Sweden, and we participate a lot in investor meetings, but also partnering and conferences. So, in terms of the position where we are as a company and as an investor case, we are in a very strong position for a biotech. And also, we have quite a differentiation. This is a very innovative field, as I mentioned to you. The two of the drugs that operate in this field, as I mentioned to you, the Keytruda received the Nobel Prize for Medicine now in December. So as you can see, this is not only rewarded by the market, but also in terms of science, this is the most innovative field. So I want to thank you, and now I hope we have some minutes for questions.
Thank you, Carlos. We do. Yeah, so very exciting year for Immunicum. I would say the most exciting part short term would be the America study, the readout in Q3. Provided that goes well, the next step, because you would have to do a bigger study then after that, right?
Yes. So, then will be what is called a pivotal or a regulatory study that, we are already planning not because necessarily we are going to be the ones running it, but, we need, as a company, and we have been making sure that we don't lose time in the development. This is very important because if we're going to partner, Elixir and Cell with a big pharma, they are going to look at how many years can they have exclusivity in the market. We have patents and all that. So the more time we save now, the more time they have in the market, the highest is the value. So all these investments that we are making are an investment in value, in increasing the value of Elixir and Cell for potential partnering discussions. So, we prepare ourselves for that, but of course, there is a lot of interest from potential partners. So, we don't know what is going to happen. But again, we are in terms of cash, we are in a position of strength, so we can negotiate for the best deal for the company and the shareholders.
And then speaking of potential partners, seems logical that if the study results great results, then you already have a couple of partnerships.
Yeah. So, well, the collaboration with Pfizer, that of course, and Merck KGaA that are, in this field, again, is very important for us because as they give us the velkomna, that is the checkpoint inhibitor, allows us to extend this big Iliad clinical study to Europe, because we don't want to pay for the checkpoint inhibitors. They cost in the US $150,000 per treatment. So this, instead of running this only in the US, we can expand to Europe, so what will help. But also very importantly is a scientific validation. Pfizer has only about 6-7 collaborations of this kind. So they are very selective in terms of who they collaborate with. So we have, believe me, it took a long time. We had to present, the data because they don't just give the drug, to any company. So we have a scientific validation. They see there is a rationale to combine and believe in the data, but also, of course, operationally allows us to involve centers in Europe, what, of course, is beneficial for us and for running the study.
And you mentioned that you are out presenting Immunicum outside Scandinavia as well, also to international investors. And you finished a really quite a big financing round in December, 350 million kronor. So you are financed through these phase 2 studies. And why is it important to bring in new investors at this point?
So, you need to differentiate between investors. You have the big funds, that, as I say, normally invest minimum 100 million krona, So we have been in touch with those, and you need to meet with them several times and along the time because they are the ones that say, we tell them we are going to do this, and then they wait and see they delivered it or not. So it's important to keep that. But my more recent efforts have been more in terms of investors that what we call invest in the secondary market. So they will buy shares. And I think that is important that, the more investors are interested in Immunicum, in investing, the more trading there is, of course, the more value you bring to the stock. And also, when you start having investors from the US, Europe, and Asia into the stock, this creates visibility, creates, again, spreads more the word, and is a benefit to our current shareholders, that at the moment, as I said, are primarily in Sweden.
We're going to invite questions from the audience.
For this readout during the third quarter, for that to be considered as a success, what needs to be shown?
So we, for a biotech and for an exploratory phase 2, that is what the study is, we already have the benefit that normally you don't include a comparative arm. So we already have a comparative arm. So we have the combination with Sutent and we have Sutent alone. And we have 18 months follow-up because we are going to look at survival. So you basically need to show that there is a clinical benefit and you bring additional in terms of survival, what we call overall survival between the groups. I also have to say that the survival doesn't finish at 18 months. These patients continue to live, so we need to continue following them. But we are going to look at overall survival between the groups, survival at 18 months, what we call progression-free survival. We are going to look at infiltration, like the image that you saw there. Do we have this infiltration and the differences between the groups in terms of the these T cells coming into the primary tumor? So there is a lot of endpoints that we're going to look at. So we need to see that there is a clinical benefit, that you see a difference between the groups. This is not, as I said, clarify, this is not a powered study for statistical significance, but that is the only impact of that is that it's not what we call an approval study. So it's a very important data. But then we need to run a bigger study, like is the normal process, But the data can already support then moving into what will be a bigger study, what we call a pivotal study. And let's not forget that, Marek is very important, the data, the study, but we also have the Iliad, and the combination with checkpoint inhibitors have a very strong potential. So as a company, basically what we did was to diversify the risk. We spread the risk. So, we have Marek, but we have Iliad. So the data in both studies are very important. So it's not the company, it's not just Marek. It's now more diversified in terms of the risk. But Marek is going to be very important to prove that we bring a benefit over the Sutent, that is the standard of care alone. I don't know if that answered. Yeah.
This seems to be a very wide field. Can you tell us how specific is your patent protection and when does it expire?
Thanks for the question. It's a very important question. As you say, it's a very, very, very busy field. But when you start narrowing it down and understand, we are the only ones with this approach. So, there are a lot of companies who are working, for instance, with oncolytic virus. There are dozens of companies doing that. So we are the only ones operating, with this mechanism of action. We have patents, to 2031, and we are filing additional patents. But one thing that is important to understand in this field is that stronger than the patents is the fact that we are a cell-based product, what is called Advanced Therapeutic Medicinal Product, ATMP. And this means that even if we didn't have patents, what we have, any other company that we wanted to use the process that we do, they will need to repeat all the data. They will not refer to our data. So basically, they will need to start from scratch. And so creates additional hurdles for us when we talk with the authorities. But again, we already got the okays from both the European and the FDA, but then creates a very high hurdle for any other company to work in this field. So we have the patents and the fact that we are a cell-based product. So creates an additional protection.
Yeah, the market cap today is $80 million US roughly. What was the market cap when you last had your last chapter injection, roughly?
Basically, if you do the proportion, will be, the share price is pretty much the same. And then, of course, we had the injection, so we increased from 51 million shares to 92 million shares. But again, I don't comment on the share price. I think, that part, as I said, I cannot control. What we can control as a company, that we deliver everything. And if you look to the past, last year, everything that we said we were going to deliver, we delivered. So it was a very successful year for Immunicum. We closed the enrollment of this study. That's why we can now have the results. We got certification from the European authorities for the quality of the production and the preclinical data. We enter into the collaboration. We brought quite big, important and strong institutional investors. We are listed beginning of last year. So as the things that we can control, we deliver on everything that we said. And now, of course, there's the expectation for the data. So we'll see how that plays.
And one other question: you have 2 injections in the tumors, right? That's how you treat these patients. What's the rationale for that? Is it common sense how you treat this?
Yeah, absolutely. So we treat, depending on the tumors, we treat with 2 or 3 injections. So in the liver, because we were also exploring, can be 2 or 3. And the rationale, you don't need more, because our activity, we are not killing the cells with the injection. We are just initiating this process. So the first injection starts inducing this process. You give a second one to reinforce that. But then the cells from the donor are destroyed in 2-3 days. So it's the patient's own immune cells that then are going to attack the tumor. For instance, we did now showed in a poster, we did a study in mice, combining with a new class of drugs, called immune enhancers, where, some of the animals, we extended survival. Some animals cleared the tumor cells. And then we re-injected those animals with tumor cells again to try to develop a tumor. Nothing. So basically they created immune memory. And that's what we want to basically do also with patients. That's the mechanism of action, that's the hope, is that these T cells, these immune cells, then that barcode that they see for the first time, then every time they see that barcode, okay, they remember. And the big advantage is that, of course, sometimes the patient then has a relapse some years later, where this barcode then may be different. You just reinitiate the system. And the big advantage, as I said, is the safety. Normally, you don't get too excited with phase 1b data, the new study, because it's primarily safety. But if we show in this new study the same safety profile that we have now in more than 90 patients, we will be the first product that, when combined with a checkpoint inhibitor, is not going to add toxicity. And this is going to be already a very important differentiation. So even that fact is very important, because most of the combinations become additional toxicity. And some patients, in some combinations, 50% of the patients cannot even tolerate the treatment. So that is more important than the usual.
I think we have to cap it there. Lots of interesting questions. And of course, we will be able to ask more questions to Carlos after when we finish. And that's the cue, I think, for today. Thank you very much, Carlos.
Thank you, Jonas. Thank you, everybody.
And that concludes today's BioStock Live from Stockholm. See us again in April. Thank you very much for coming today. Thank you.